everybody has to be singing from the same tune, saying the same thing, so that when my salespeople go into the house, they already know what you've told them in the beginning, so they know how to proceed with their script.
This is the Wealthy Contractor Podcast, brought to you by G4 Marketing. Interviews with today's top home improvement entrepreneurs about marketing, sales, money, mindset, and lifestyle. Now, here's your host, Brian Kaskavalciyan.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. This is Brian Kaskavalciyan with G4 Marketing Group, and I have got another incredible guest. You guys are going to love this guy. I met him at my event a couple of years ago, the 2018 Accelerate event. At the time, he was working for somebody else, and since then, he's gone on to start his own company, and he's doing very, very well. So we're gonna talk about going from zero to very nice profitability very quickly. So hang on. Before we get into that, by the way, my guest's name is IQ Haywood, and it's little I, big Q.
Yes,
Little I, big Q. IQ Haywood, his company is called Revamp. It's out of Atlanta, Georgia. If you have not, before we jump into this, if you have not got yourself a copy of the 7 Secrets to Becoming a Wealthy Contractor, the book, what are you waiting for? IQ, we've had over 1,200 people get a copy of the book, and it's free. I just ask people to pay $6.95 shipping and handling. Originally, I think I committed to like 1,000 books, but I'm going to commit to another 1,000. So there are books available, free books, just pay shipping and handling. And to get your copy, go to thewealthycontractor.com, thewealthycontractor.com. So IQ, welcome. I'm glad you're here. It's been a while. We did a little bit of catching up before we turned on the recording. And so what I'd like to start off with is the quick 2-minute version of your story, and then we're going to have a lot to unpack from that.
All right, Brian. First of all, I'm glad to be here, and thank you for having me. Well, the quick 2-minute version is, I'm a young kid, was a young kid from Brooklyn, New York. Come from humble beginnings. My mother and my father are both from Trinidad. My stepdad, who raised me, is from Jamaica. So very, very humble beginnings. I come from a family of go-getters and hustlers, okay? All the men in my family majority of them are business owners or very, very hard workers, and the women do the same. Women in my family are bosses. I was raised by a couple of them. So I made my move to Atlanta from New York to Atlanta in right around 2006, 2007. I got into the automobile industry, worked my way up from a salesperson all the way up to a finance director. So, sales manager, new car manager, used car manager. So that was my introduction into the sales and marketing industry. Always knew that I didn't want to work for somebody for too long. So I always had that in the back of my head. So I never was particularly happy, even though I made great money. I was just never happy. Fast forward a little bit, I retired from the automobile industry at 33. Yeah, you heard that right, retired from the automobile industry at 33. Moved to North Carolina, Charlotte, to start a family with my beautiful wife, Kimmy Lee. And then I got bored. Thought the retirement would have been great at a young age, but I kind of got bored. So I ran into a owner of a home improvement company by the name of Joe Chate of Paradise Home Improvement in North Carolina. Just wanted to start off as a sales rep, get my feet wet. Immediately fell in love with the business. Immediately, I knew that eventually I would have my own. So I just soaked up the game, became his sales manager, ended up being very successful there, moved back to Atlanta, took over a company here, started off as a sales manager, became the general manager. Basically, I became the owner without owning it. I ran the company, everything from the back office to the front office. And that's how I met you, because we came to one of your events in 2018, and now here I am.
Cool. So tell us a little bit about Revamp. What are you selling?
We do exterior remodeling, which is windows, gutters, roofing, attic insulation, gutter guards, gutter protection.
Cool.
And siding. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
And siding. Sorry.
Okay. And you guys did about how many jobs did you do, or how much revenue did you do in your first year? So you're in your first year of business.
Right. So we started April 1st of 2019.
Okay.
So my first year we did about 1.5.
It's amazing. And by the way, to the listeners, very, very profitable, because IQ knows his value, and he's not going to go out and do work and not make money, which is what I hope for all of you. Right? We don't work and not make money. We don't provide value to the marketplace and not get paid. So that's a great first year. Are you out doing the selling, or did you immediately bring on salespeople?
Okay, so I started in the beginning with the thought, and I would say probably like March of 2019. There's a lot of paperwork and things like that, and planning that took place in between, like March 1st to April 1st from launch. When I launched April 1st, I started off with one marketer and myself. In the office, one marketer and myself. I grew that to pre-COVID, 20 marketers, 10 on day shift, 10 on night shift, and 5 sales reps. So yes, in the beginning, I did start off selling by myself, but I wasn't doing the marketing.
So so if you had 5 salespeople pre-COVID, that 1.5 million that you did, you were ramping up pretty quickly.
Yes. So yeah, we didn't just go from no salespeople and just me to 5 salespeople and 20 marketers. It was a plan that I put together, and I worked it slowly. But there was a time, I don't have the exact time pre-COVID. It probably was, COVID hit what, March?
Yeah, middle of March.
So like January, February, right? After I ended the year and spoke to the accountant, and they was basically patting me on my back, let me know how good I was doing, I kind of got big headed and was like, okay, let's go ahead and ramp this thing up. So I put together a plan, and it was gradual from April to January, but like January, February, March, it kind of just jumped.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what happened.
When you say 20 marketers, 10 day shift, 10 night shift, are these people knocking doors? Were they on the phone?
Okay, so great question. So I kind of built my company a little bit different than your average home improvement guest that I hear on the show. Like I said, I had some great trainers in the industry coming up under Joe Chate and Paradise Home Improvement and those guys over there. I had great trainers and great systems that I was able to duplicate and put into place. However, I didn't start my company the same way as, the majority of people that I hear start off with a canvas team or a cold call center. Even when I was working for other home improvement companies, I used to always say, like, this industry is gonna change. Why aren't people using the internet the way that they should use the internet? And when I used to bring my thoughts and my ideas to these owners, they would tell me, well, my customers aren't on the internet. So it's not my company. So I just used to be like, well, okay, when I get my chance to try, I'm going to try it. If I fail, I fail. And you were right. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So to make a long story short, I started my company on the internet. All my leads came from the internet, whether it was third party, paid ads, I built the business on the internet first, then call center second. So I believe in a call center, but I just wanted to try something different first that I thought would have been very profitable, and
Smart.
it worked.
Yeah,
it worked.
No, smart. Yeah.
Internet first, it allowed me to not have to start off with a bunch of personnel marketers, right? I had one marketer that was able to answer the leads as soon as they come in, and myself, whenever he was off, I was able to respond to them. They're internet leads, so you can respond by text, pick up the phone, or however you respond, and that was the process right there in the beginning. Then when you say the 20 marketers, 10 on the day shift, 10 on night shift, I would say 7 of them on day were dealing with outbound calling, right? Or show leads. I always wanted to start the Canvas team, but I never got into it because of COVID. So it was 7 doing outbound calling and maybe 3 doing rehashing or, dealing with internet leads and stuff like that on the day shift and then night shift.
Did those people have scripts?
Oh yes, of course. I wouldn't put anybody on the phone without a script. Everybody.
Did you all hear what he just said? Say what you just said again.
Same tune. Everybody has to be singing from the same tune, saying the same thing, so that when my salespeople go into the house, they already know what you've told them in the beginning, so they know how to proceed with their script.
Yeah.
So yes, everything is scripted.
And what did you say about you wouldn't put anybody on the phone? What?
I wouldn't put anybody on the phone without a script.
Right.
Without knowing the script.
And it's little things like that that make all the difference in the world, right? So systems, people, profit. My big 3 things are people, process, and profit. People, process, and profit. The 4th thing, the kind of the underlying thing, that's kind of where the 7 Secrets book comes in, is personal. So there's those 4 P's, but when it comes to the business, it's people, process, and profit. And you've already hit on all 3 of them. Just as your approach to pricing, because you have a very healthy profit margin, which means that you understand how to price jobs. I would imagine that when you walk into the house and you're doing your presentation and you put the price in front of people, you are not the cheap guy. You're probably more than the 2 or 3 other people that they may have talked to or may want to talk to. How do you, and I'm assuming that's true, right? You're not the low price guy. You're high price.
Yes.
As a new company, so a lot of people have this, we talk about price a lot here because it is one of the things in this industry that kills people more than anything else. It's the when we talk about profitability, when I talk with clients, it's almost always a pricing issue. So how did you, walking in as a new company that nobody had seen, nobody had heard from before, that they found on the internet, probably through a third party at the very beginning, how did you get the right price?
All right. So again, remember, I had some great trainers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, and I had the Wealthy Contractor podcast and the seminars to kind of guide me. So remember, I started off with a home improvement company in North Carolina. Joe Chate is kind of one of the OGs in home improvement.
He is.
So I basically, I know what pricing stuff is supposed to be around. They're not the cheapest, right? So to make a long story short, if you want to know what I did, I took those prices and used the same exact prices. Just basically what I did, because I didn't have a profit and loss statement at first, because we're going from day 1. Right. I didn't have any of that. I didn't know the actual accounting side. See, you give up the, on your show, you talk about that we have to be profitable, or, price is important, but we don't never really get into how much markup or this, that, and the third. So what I was able to do is I took those prices. Then I've got my cost for material and labor. And by that, I was able to figure out where I need to mark it up. And then after month 1, I looked at the profit and loss statement, went over it with my accountant, and I figured out where I needed to be at based upon the prices that I already had.
So what's interesting about what you just said is that most people that do what you did, they were working for someone else and then they go into business for themselves. They look at the pricing from the company they used to work for and they say, well, I'm going to go in cheaper.
No, I went higher. I went higher.
You went higher.
Yeah.
That's the right move, right? Because you're already, you don't even know. See, a lot of times you don't know if that company that you worked for even makes money. You don't even know. You don't know if they have their pricing right. You in your head might have an issue with the pricing, which is where most of this stems from, by the way. And it's interesting about you also, about IQ, is his background gives him a little bit of an advantage because this is a guy that's made a lot of money. And when you've made a lot of money and you're used to making money, what I call your financial set point is higher. So that's something that you already had going into this, was you had that higher financial set point. But regardless, and I'm doing this for the listener, IQ, is that he went in and instead of playing the game of, well, I'm going to be lower and that's how I'm going to quote unquote win, he went in with, I'm going to be better. I'm going to deliver more value. And stop me if I'm putting words in your mouth.
You're 100% right. You're 100% right.
Yeah, but I'm going to deliver more value and I'm going to be priced higher. Gotcha. Right? And to me, if you're going to be in business, that's the game to play, is figure out how can I deliver more value to the customer than anybody else in the marketplace. And how do I then become the best value for the customer? Not the cheapest, the best value for the customer, even though my pricing or IQ's pricing or your pricing is higher than the next guy.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, you're 100% correct, Brian.
Let's stop here and take a quick break. Now more than ever, you need a steady stream of profitable leads that are going to close easily and quickly with as little hassle as possible. Repeat and referral leads are the absolute best way to do that. But how do you go about generating more of these profitable leads systematically? At G4 Marketing Group, we have the whole process down to a science, and we have it all written out for you in the Referral Success Blueprint. We're making this blueprint free to you as a listener of the Wealthy Contractor podcast, so you can start generating more profitable leads for your business today. Just go to www.g4marketing.com/blueprint. That's GFOUR marketing.com/blueprint and download your referral success blueprint for free. Now let's get back to this episode.
So, I feel like a lot of people's problems when they get into businesses, they fail to plan. And when I say plan, I'm not talking about writing down a business plan on a piece of paper and trying to execute that. Because if you don't know the business, how are you writing down a business plan? Right. So I kind of attribute my success to the fact that I actually went and worked for companies before I got involved into investing my own money into a company. Yeah. So, and let's rewind a little bit, because we don't call this infiltrating, because I didn't infiltrate any company that I went to. I actually created value for that company. Right. Any owner that I ever worked for has nothing but great things to say about me. I brought value to their company because of my drive and my background. Yeah. But at the same time, I worked for a company first, right? Learned their system, brought that system from North Carolina to Atlanta into a failing company, turned his company around, doubled his revenue, and made him profitable, and then said, okay, after I tested that system, then I said, okay, I'm ready. Yeah. I didn't just jump and just threw dollars at that's how most companies fail, because you say, okay, I want to start a restaurant. How you starting a restaurant if you never, because you can cook, you never ran a business? The smart thing to do would be go work for a restaurant and see how that restaurant is ran. That's something similar to the business model that you're trying to do. And then you're going to come up with more jewels. You might not have it all, but you have way more than what you're going into the company with.
Right.
And that's my philosophy. That's what I tell everybody.
Yeah, it's very, very smart. And the thing that always, it's funny, I thought up until about half an hour ago, I thought IQ was 25 or 26.
Yeah, everybody does. I
Yeah.
still look good, right?
Yeah. He's 38, this guy. So I'm calling him a kid. That was going to be my approach to this episode was, oh, look at this kid that just started off. He's not a kid. He's a seasoned guy that's made a lot of money. You've said this when you describe your journey and your current business, you say sales and marketing company, which is really what all of these business, the smart business owner, the wealthy business owner, understands that the business that they're in is a sales and marketing business. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because
all right, so
a lot of people, sorry, IQ to interrupt, but a lot of people think I'm a contractor. I'm a roofer. I'm a window installer, but you don't see it that way. You see it different. And by the way, all of my most successful clients will see it the way that he's going to tell you right now. And I don't even know what he's going to say, but I know he's right.
Okay. So first and foremost, rewind a little bit. It's all about mindset. Number one, right? So you're going to laugh at me, but, I couldn't nail a nail into a piece of drywall. Okay. Go ahead.
Me too.
Yeah.
I'm raising, by the way, for those of you that can't see, I'm raising my hand. Sorry to interrupt you, but I had, it's a running joke. I had one of the largest handyman companies in the country. I am the world's worst handyman. It was a running joke. I'm the world's worst handyman, but I knew how to sell and market the shit out of it. But anyway, Go on. Sorry. So you can't nail.
I can't nail a nail into a wall, roof.
Which is a good thing, by the way.
None of that, right? So when I first got into the home improvement industry, people are talking about gable vents and soffit and fascia. I'm like a deer in a headlight. I'm like, okay, what am I going to get, a doctor's degree or something? All of these new terminologies. Yeah. Anyway, fast forward. I'm not a contractor. I'm not an installer. I market and I sell. When I was in the car business, I actually studied the owners in the car business. And I used to wonder like, these guys are making all this money. And I say this all the time. I bring up the car business because I look at the automobile industry as the upper echelon of what marketing and sales industries are. They kind of run the economy, right? Yeah. So I look at that business as the macrocosm of this business. This is the smaller version of it, right? So I used to study the owners, and I used to ask myself, why do these guys come in every day, Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday? They come in at around 10 o'clock and leave at 12 o'clock. What are they doing? Because they ain't working. They've got a sales manager. They got an internet manager. They got all type of people to run the company. They do not have to be there. Then I used to see these pretty girls going into the office all the time with magazines, and then it hit me. They're the ones that's always on the commercials. They're marketers. It hit me. They're not trusting anybody else with their marketing. So when I started elevating in business a little bit, I said, okay, an owner is actually a marketer. He just hires the other people to bring the pieces of the puzzle together. So that's how I approach it, man. I mean, this is the marketing and sales industry. I want to master marketing. That's it. I already know how to sell. I'm one of the best salespeople that I've ever ran across. Anybody who you speak to that I've worked for or that I've worked with will tell you that. I already know how to do that. I can train on that in my sleep. I want to learn how to be a master marketer. That's what I study now.
So it's interesting that you say that, because when I met my mentor, Dan Kennedy, I was probably 2 or 3 years into business. And that was the big thing that I learned from him was we're in the marketing business. You gotta, as an owner, there's two things, and according to him, there's two things you do not delegate in your business. Marketing is one and checkbook is number two. And it's interesting because look, I just, you know, if I just think about some of my top clients that you know, that you would know, that national companies like Harley Magden at Window Nation, this guy is one of the most brilliant marketers I've ever met. You know, Brian Elias, 1-800-Hansons, brilliant. He could sell.
I actually use one of his systems, the Don't Go.
Yeah. But these guys are brilliant, brilliant marketers. And I can go down my list of clients and I'll tell you which ones, you know. It is a marketing business and a sales business.
The best companies that I've studied or I've looked at, the owners are great marketers.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. I wouldn't delegate my marketing, because if you put your leads in the hands of somebody's hands who doesn't, all they're looking for is a paycheck,
right,
you're setting yourself up for disaster.
Right. Yeah. And marketing could be done from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock Monday to Thursday, if you've got good processes and good systems. So it's interesting. So before this, before we turned on the recording, I asked IQ about, well, how did you scale up so fast? And your answer to me was,
well, you might consider it fast. I don't think it was fast enough, but
okay.
so
believe me, it's fast.
All right. So pre-COVID, you know, I started the company off with just me and one marketer. I moved up to about 10 telemarketers on day shift, 10 on the night shift. So
yep,
about 20 marketers and a marketing director. So let's say 21. Rewind a little bit. So I was also told, I'm not going to call any names, but I was also told, I used to watch the reports, you know, when I was a sales manager or a general manager from other home improvement companies. I used to watch the reports, and I used to always ask, or I look at the reports and see what source and subsource generates the most money, right? And I used to always be either telemarketing or Canvas fighting back to back. Yeah. So I used to ask them, well, if telemarketing is doing numbers like this, why don't we double, triple, 5 times? Why don't you got 100 telemarketers in here? Why you only got 3 or 4? And they, well, that doesn't work. So, okay, I don't know it all. So I'm listening to you, but the math is right in front of my face. It just never made sense to me. So when I got the opportunity, I tested it myself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I scaled. So coming to pre-COVID, when I sat down with my accountant at the end of December, and they kind of patted me on the back, and I was like, okay, well, if I'm doing this good, it's time to scale up.
Yeah.
And that's how I kind of.
But the thing about you was that you did not go in and we talked about this earlier, by the way. And again, stop me if I'm putting words in your mouth, but the thing about IQ is that he didn't just go and say, oh, I'm going to go do, here's a model that's working, but I'm going to go do it completely different on my own. Right?
No, sir.
No, this is a guy that he went to my event. I've seen you at other events, other people's events.
We've probably seen each other at about 5.
Yeah. He understands. And this is the thing that I try so hard, IQ, with the podcast and with all the other things that we do, is there are proven models in this business. And the people that are trying to like do it on their own, or don't believe that, oh, the model that Joe is using at Paradise Exteriors or Paradise Home Improvements, oh no, that's good for him, but I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it different. No, why? This is business. You want to go design a house and you want to make it your own, and you want to have a red bathroom, and you want to have a purple living room, and you want to have a green kitchen, and you want to put carpet on your countertop, your kitchen countertop. God bless you, have at it. But when you go into business, it's serious. You don't just make stuff up. You go and you learn. And this guy has done it as well as anybody that I've seen. And so I want you to talk a little bit, because some people, you're a guy, you have an ego, but your ego is not so great that you won't go learn from somebody else. So talk a little bit about that.
So, all right. So my ego comes from because I know that I'm good at what I do. However,
Confidence.
There you go. However, when I step into a field or an arena of, guys like you, guys like Joe, guys like Brian Elias, all the guys, all the older guys who's been doing home improvement for this long, you would be a fool to even speak. Okay, I don't say anything unless it's a question that I'm asking.
This is true.
To generate them to speak even more.
Yep.
First and foremost, I want to thank you and the system that you put together, especially the podcast. It's one of the main things that gave me the confidence for me to jump out there on my own. All right.
Cool.
Your first event and the podcast is what allowed me to say, you know what, that with me knowing a little bit about the business gave me the confidence to say, but I could do this. There's people out there that's teaching it. If you sit there, play the podcast on the way to work, listen, get jewels every now and again, you're good. And, don't just listen to it, do it. So I had the opportunity to test. I didn't test it all because I didn't want to give somebody else my sauce that I wanted to try on my own. But I tested enough to say that, okay, what they're talking about is right. Why, if you're gonna provide somebody with world-class service, why would you want to be the low price provider?
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
Couldn't afford it. You couldn't afford to.
You can't afford it. So did I do things that are a little bit different than other companies in my business? Yes, but I didn't do them from the beginning. Okay. Yeah. What I did was I took a model that I saw that worked 100%. Right. So whether or not some of the things that I brought to him, he didn't want to do or did, it doesn't matter because it worked for him. He's wealthy. He's a wealthy contractor. It worked for him for years. Yeah. So I took that model and used the exact model. And then the things that I wanted to try, I pushed them in little by little by little by little. Once I had the profit to try them.
Right.
Not in the beginning. I didn't do it from day one.
Right. But that's also giving, and I think that's so good that you said that. You need that foundation. You need the profitability. Then you could say, okay, well, let me test this and let me see if I could do a little bit better, just like the example you gave with the telemarketing. Well, if 5 work good, let's test 10, and let's see if it works. The internet marketing. All the other guys are telling, oh, no, that doesn't work. Well, let's go find somebody that is doing it. Let's do it the way they do it. Let's test it. Let's tweak it. It's very, very, very smart. Let me ask you, because we're running up against the clock. COVID. How are you dealing with first off, how's business?
Business is great.
Yep. For most of my clients, business is amazing. So by the way, we're recording this in the middle of July. You guys are probably going to hear this in August. So not too much of a lag. Business is great. That's good. How are you doing in your head with all of this? Okay. So COVID for me is 2 parts because I have 3 kids, right? So as far as for my kids, I do feel like, this, the not being able to be around people. I do feel like if this lasts for too much longer, kids, it will affect them somewhat with having to go back to school and things like that. But as far as me mentally, financially, emotionally, I hate to say it because, you're taking something, it's like I'm taking something negative and turning it into a positive, but I'm actually thankful for this time. What it allowed me to do was slow down, gave me a lot more time to look at the numbers. Because like I said, from January, I kind of just doubled, almost tripled. And when you this is new for me. All of this is new for me. So I'm not trying to sit here and make it seem like I'm a guru. I'm testing, I'm still learning, I'm still testing every day, right? But scaling that quick leaves you with little to no time to actually, you miss certain steps and you miss certain things. So what COVID actually did was it allowed me a chance to slow down and look at everything that I tried
so that now while I'm rebuilding, I can put the right pieces in the right place, if that makes sense.
Absolutely
So
does.
I'm thankful
No,
for it. Definitely not thankful for the pandemic and the people that is hurting and the
right.
businesses that is hurting. But yeah, for me, it's been a blessing.
Yeah, you're using the time. One of the other things, and again, I say this in almost every episode. I mean, I think IQ is either 101 or 102, somewhere in there. I want to get this out quick, but you will hear more and more as I do more and more of these episodes. Go back and listen. Success leaves clues. I say this all the time. Listen to him talk and listen to some of the other people talk, and you'll hear them saying the same things. And one of the things that every single wealthy contractor I know, every single person I know in this business that is rich from this business, they know their numbers. How many times have you heard IQ say numbers in half an hour? Numbers, numbers, numbers. This is a numbers business. It's a sales and marketing organization that's driven by psychology and data, right? And so marketing is about psychology and it's about math. And when you understand both of those, you do very well. Selling, same thing. Psychology and math. Success in business is about understanding the numbers. And so I'm glad that I just wanted to point that out to the listeners, that the things that you're hearing this guy say, and by the way, 5 years from now, make no mistake, if he wants, he's going to have one of the most successful home improvement companies in the country. It may not be the biggest, but I'll tell you what, it's probably going to be one of the most profitable. Why? Because the foundation is right. And listen to what he said. He started to scale the business, but he was watching the numbers. The mistake I made was I was looking at the numbers, but I wasn't listening to the numbers. The numbers were telling me, you're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong. And I wasn't listening. You listen to the numbers. And so, good for you.
But before even getting to listening to the numbers, I listened to the podcast.
Right. Well, yeah.
And I listened to guys like, let's just be honest. I wouldn't know about those things without going to those seminars, without listening.
Yeah, you're open-minded.
Right. So I already have a sales, marketing, and finance background, but every industry is a little bit different, right? So listening to the podcast gave me that confidence of the things that I was missing. Coming to the show, speaking to you guys on one-on-one, filled in the blanks. I still don't have 100%, but I didn't start off with 10%.
None of us do, my friend.
Right. But I didn't start off with 10%. I might have started off with maybe 50 to 60, which gave me that push in the right direction. I knew all the KPIs, the things that I needed to make sure that my business ran successful, where I can add the other stuff on later, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, this has been awesome. So look, I already know that I got to have you back a year from now, and we need a progress report on what's happened in your second year of business. Because I really believe that you're going to be one of the leaders. You're going to be one of the people that hopefully other people will be looking at and saying, well, hey, look, if this guy can do it, why can't I? That's always been my thing. Look, we all come from different places. We all have different backgrounds. We all have our mental crap that we have to deal with. It's taken me 25 years to finally get to a place where I'm kind of comfortable, my business and with myself. It takes time. And I'm going to be learning from you soon enough. I already do. And I appreciate you very much. So thank you for being here. I'm going to have you back a year from now. I'm going to have you back, and I'm going to get a report on your second year.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so for everybody listening, this is another amazing episode. I knew IQ was going to be an awesome guest. I want to hear from you. Go to iTunes and leave us a review. Let us know how we are doing. If you have not got a copy of the 7 Secrets book, Again, I've committed to over another 1,000 books. So you can go and get a free copy. I just ask you to pay $6.95 shipping and handling. I lose money on every single book I send you. Okay, it costs me more than $6.95, but the book is important and I want as many people to have it. The other thing, by the way, with the book is there's a bunch of resources that are available online. So when you buy the book, you get access to all of the resources that are there for you online. So again, IQ, thank you so much. Appreciate you a lot, my friend. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. And to everybody listening, this is Brian Kaskavalcian, the G4 Marketing Group, and this is the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. Until next time.
All right, so that's it for today's episode of the Wealthy Contractor Podcast. Let me ask you, did it help you look at your business in a new way? Did it spark an idea or ideas you hadn't thought of before? Do you have a list of action items that you can take and implement into your business or your life today? I really hope so. Now, before you go, make sure you subscribe to the Wealthy Contractor Podcast so you get access to the latest episodes as soon as they're available. We're always striving to provide you with great content, so you don't want to miss what's coming up. And a favor, I'd really appreciate it if you'd go to iTunes and post a review of this podcast. Let us know how we're doing. The Wealthy Contractor Podcast is brought to you by G4 Marketing Group, where we help contractors of all kinds create customers, keep customers, and multiply their customers and profits. If you're interested in reaching new levels of success for your company, visit www.gfourmarketing.com or just call us at 305-856-8788 to schedule your free, no obligation, Wealthy Contractor Strategy Session. Now, during this strategy session, we're going to look at 8 key performance factors in your business, and we're going to help you uncover opportunities for growth, for leads, for sales, and for profit. And finally, we started the Wealthy Contractor as a resource to help you, the home improvement entrepreneur, regardless of where you are on the wealthy scale, get where you want to go. We want to provide you with the motivation, the confidence, the resources, and the tools so you too can live the life of the wealthy contractor. Now, the wealthy contractor is a place where it's okay for you to want it all. In fact, it's not only okay, it's encouraged. So until next time, this is Brian Kaskavalcian with G4 Marketing Group.